So there's finally been some answers and confirmation to one insane and bogus story going around about Brock Lesnar getting into a backstage fight at WrestleMania 36. So let's talk about his backstage history and address that rumor. We've all heard the crazy backstage rumors and stories about Brock Lesnar over the years. The overall belief is that Brock is very to himself and is unapproachable. But other WWE superstars have come out against those rumors and told us a whole different side of Brock that we never see. Paige was recently interviewed and she opened up about how caring and helpful Brock Lesnar is backstage and how he'll pretty much help anyone with whatever they need. CM Punk also shared a story about how Brock Lesnar helped him and offered him advice when Punk was heading into MMA. Punk said that Brock Lesnar got in touch with him as soon as he heard the news and told Punk that if he has any questions or needs some advice to just let him know. So that's the side of Brock Lesnar that many people just ignore and don't really talk about. From what all these superstars are saying, it really seems like Brock could be a really nice guy behind the scenes, but there's still this aura and mystic about Brock Lesnar. Some fans think the way we see him on television is how he acts backstage. Now, there's some proof of Brock acting questionable backstage. We all remember that clip from a few years ago where Brock walked through curtains and threw the Universal title at Vince McMahon and walked away while Vince was yelling at him. That seemed like a real genuine moment that made it into a WWE documentary, and it sort of added more proof to this rumored backstage attitude that Brock Lesnar has. Then going back to SummerSlam 2016, Brock Lesnar had a real backstage interaction with Chris Jericho. That main event of that SummerSlam was Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. These two future Hall of Famers were meeting in the ring for the first time, and it was a historic matchup. However, the actual match lasted just over 10 minutes with Brock Lesnar absolutely dominating Randy. Orton got little to no offense in all throughout that match, and Lesnar won from a TKO. Chris Jericho was losing his mind and going crazy backstage. He really had no idea what was going on and thought Lesnar was going off script with Orton. Jericho waited right at the curtain to check on Randy Orton and confronted Brock Lesnar as well. Jericho reportedly got in Brock's face, which led to Brock shoving him and saying something along the lines, "Kiss me or hit me." That's when everyone got involved and broke everything up. Vince McMahon then told Jericho to calm down, that everything was a work and part of the match. Orton was asked later on in an interview what happened that night, and he summed it up by saying this. Basically what happened is Jericho saw what was going on in the ring and wanted answers as to whether my best interests were in mind as far as my health and safety. I had my family there sitting front row, and Chris knew that as well. He was just coming up to check on his boy. That's what it boiled down to, and I think that's awesome. You hear all these things about how they were going to fight, but I don't think Jericho wanted to fight Brock. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think he was coming up to make sure everything was cool. It's unfortunate that in that small space, with a dozen bodies in there, somehow that leaked and everybody knew about it. That's very unfortunate. It was blown way out of proportion, and Jericho just wanted to check on one of his fellow boys in the locker room. Orton then went to talk about his history with Brock Lesnar, and once again confirmed that Brock is humble. He had this to say. Brock was humble and a fun guy to be around. He's still the same way. He's been through a lot, and he's really become a name in this business and in MMA. Jericho also addressed the story in his podcast and had a few words to say about everything that happened as well. Well, anytime something like that happens, there's always a lot of rumors and a lot of stories being told. Not to get into specifics, it was basically between me and Brock, but we did have a little bit of brouhaha, shall we say. I think that happens when you get guys that are in sports such as ours. Half entertainment, half real, half not. I just didn't know if Randy was okay. I was checking on Randy, my friend. We've always been pretty close. I said something and he said something, and next thing you know, we're nose to nose, kind of yelling at each other, and it diffused fairly quickly. Jericho wrapped up by saying that it was a face-to-face confrontation that was stopped at the right time. So that brings us to today's current story and rumor. Someone started a rumor that Brock Lesnar was once again furious after WrestleMania and decided to get into a backstage fight with Vince McMahon over money, got arrested, and was later escorted out of the building. The rumor was confirmed to be false by multiple sources. No one was paying any attention to the rumor because of how false it sounded on its own, but a lot of fans were believing it. so everyone is now speaking out about it. But just seeing the headline of Brock Lesnar fights Vince McMahon backstage and gets arrested at WrestleMania, you should already suspect that it's not true. If this situation would have actually happened, then it would have been all over the news, all over TMZ, and just everywhere you look, because that would be the biggest story ever, but it never happened. However, when you consider Brock's backstage history, such as the SummerSlam 2016 situation, it's understandable why some fans might fall for a headline such as the one from WrestleMania 36. But everything with Brock Lesnar and WWE seem to be going smooth right now. WWE recently locked up Brock Lesnar on a multiple-year contract extension, and he's continuing to be paid handsomely. So there shouldn't be any issue there, at least for the moment. So for today's bonus story, we'll be going over an issue concerning the Raw after WrestleMania. There were certain points throughout the show that felt weird and out of place, but there's a real good reason for that. So let's swap over and take a look at what was really going on behind the scenes with the Raw after WrestleMania. That right there definitely explains why the commentators weren't shown as much as they usually are, and it also explains why the Raw main event was filmed with the WrestleMania set. WWE was just in a big rush before the shutdown was going to take place. But what are your thoughts on that really false rumor that was going around about Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.